Hello, and welcome to Michell Consulting's webinar series from Michell University. Today, we're going to be working with SAP Business One, the new version 9.0, and we're going to be talking about a concept called the cancellation of marketing documents. What this basically allows us to do is and I'm going to be using the sales order, the sales AR for the demo, but it works in the other documents as well as purchasing. What this allows us to do is actually take an AR invoice and cancel it without having to create a credit. One of the issues that was happening is that we would create an AR invoice by mistake. We would invoice maybe the wrong price, or we would invoice wrong off a delivery ticket, and then we had to create a credit memo to offset that. So now we can do, without having to create the credit memo and having the credit memo in the system, we can actually cancel the invoice. The cancellation of the invoice is going to set the general ledger back and put everything in perspective. So we're going to go through that today. This is a new feature. We're also going to be using the features from the 8.8.2 version, which allows us to open the base document. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first show you some setups, and then what we'll do is we're going to create a sales order. We're going to actually create the delivery, which is going to close out the sales order on the delivery, and then we're going to create the AR invoice. Now, what we're going to do there is cancel the AR invoice, which is going to allow us to open up the delivery, so we can either re-invoice, or in this case, I'm going to actually cancel the delivery by doing a return so I can open up the base document. So before we begin, let's go over some settings. So I'm going to go into Administration. I'm going to go into System Initialization, and I'm going to show you some settings in the document settings. In the document settings on the General tab, we see now some more information down here. So we have Display Canceled and Cancellation Documents in Reports, so we can actually have that in our reports, so we can see the actual document, or we can choose not to see it. Again, this is a personal preference on an aging, because again, if I did a document and it was a mistake and I canceled it, I may not want the customer to see the invoice and the cancellation. Just like that was a problem before, because on the statements or on the aging, you would see, the invoice and the credit. We also have this max number of days for canceling marketing documents before or after posting. This is good to set up, because what this allows me to do is not go back and accidentally pick an invoice from last year and cancel it. So normally we can set this, for purpose of the demo today, I put 5 days, but we can do this for 1 or 2 days. What this means is that if I had an invoice that was done 6 days ago, I would not be able to cancel it. So again, this is what's set up here in that. As you know from working with the 8.8.2, if I go to the per document, and again, we'll be using the sales side, but this also holds true on the purchasing side. We have here the reopen document by creating returns and so on. You can do it without user confirmation, okay, or with user confirmation. So by checking this, it's without user confirmation. So that means it's just going to do it automatically. You can also set this like this. Right? If you do it without user confirmation, it's going to pop up and ask you to set the information. So again, that's the settings. So we're going to do it without user confirmation. So you can click Update here. And again, this is also in the authorizations. So now if we go into our authorizations, our general authorizations, and we'll pick somebody who's not a super user, like we'll pick, let's say, Bob here, and if we type in here, we can see now that we have cancellation of marketing documents generated by cancellation documents. So again, we can set authorization. This holds true for the other documents as well. This is the standard from the other SAPs. So you can have people access to either cancel or not cancel a document. So let's begin. Let's actually go here and let's create a sales order. So we're going to go here and we're going to create a sales order, and we'll go through the flow. And again, we'll see that we have the date of today, so we gave it 5 days, so we're going to be okay on this one. Let's just, we'll select these 2 items here. And we're going to go ahead here. and we're going to add the sales order. Okay. We're going to call the sales order back up. You can see it right here. You can see the status is open because we haven't done any deliveries. It's open. And again, you can cancel the sales. That was a standard in the other SAPs. You can cancel a sales order because with the sales order, there's been no effect on the accounting. You can see there's no journal remark. We just have an order, so we're not affecting any general ledger at all. Let's just copy this to a delivery. Again, we do a simple process. We're going to deliver everything. We're going to click Add. And again, you're getting this message. Again, that was the standard before in the AR documents. That's because now we're going to affect general ledger. Because we're doing a delivery, remember, we're doing two things. We're reducing the quantity on hand. So if you see here, we're going to reduce the quantity on hand of this, and we're going to make a journal in the general ledger. So you can see here, we're going to actually credit the value of our inventory and debit our cost of sales. Okay. So if we go here, let's just order 334, let's just go back into it. So you can see order 334 is closed. If we look at the relationship map, you can see that we have a sales order and we fully delivered it. So that document's closed. We'll see later on that we're going to reopen this document because we made a mistake. Okay, so let's do the same thing. Let's just close this. And let's call up that delivery. So here we have the delivery, and we'll do the same thing. We'll do a simple copy to an AR invoice. So now we're going to have AR invoice 278. Okay, and you can see everything's here. I'm going to go ahead and add this just like we do in the standard SAP. Okay. Let's just close all this. And now let's go back into the AR invoice we just did. Okay, so here we go. Again, you can see, again, this is the AR invoice. You can see where it's coming from. It's based on a delivery, based on a sales order. You can see the effect in general ledger. Because now what we did is we debited the business partner, 525, and we credited sales. You'll see when we do the cancellation is going to create a cancellation AR invoice with a different number, and this is going to be reversed. So we're going to then go ahead and credit the business partner and debit this. We'll look at this again in a few moments. If we go to our relationship map, you can see here that because now we have the AR invoice, our delivery has a status of closed because we've invoiced it, so we've taken it to the next level. We took it from the base to the target document, and our sales order is also closed because of that. Okay, we've got that. So now what we do is we have now, if we want to cancel this, before in the other version of SAP Business One, we would have to go do copy to and create a credit to offset it. We don't know how to do that anymore. All we have to do is a simple right click, and now we have the cancel function that is in the AR invoice. This cancel function was always available in the sales orders and purchase orders and so on, because they weren't really affecting general ledger, but now we have it in the AR invoice. So we click cancel, and you can see what's going to happen here. Put these both on the screen so you can see that we have our original invoice 278, and we're going to cancel it with an AR cancellation invoice 279. So I'm going to go ahead and add this, and again, you can see the link, and you'll see this in the relationship map. And again, we're getting this cancellation reversible. Okay, so it's going to do all that stuff. You want to continue. I'm going to say yes. So now we've canceled that out. So let's just call up that one here. So you can see here, it's this one here. Here's the cancellation invoice. So if we look at the effect of accounting, we've done is we've done the reversal. You can see now we credited the business partner and we debited the revenue. See if I can open up this one here. This is the original. Get these both to fit on the screen. So you can see here is the original invoice information here, and you can see which AR invoice for the business partner. And now you can see the remark. This is the AR cancellation. So you can see the difference. The original invoice debited the business partner. So now we're going to credit the business partner. We credited sales revenue, so we're going to debit. So we reversed the general ledger. So we basically eliminated the invoice without having to do a credit memo. Right? And what's also, because we did that, so let's go back now, start from the beginning, and let's go to our sales order. So we can open up the relationship map and follow the path. Okay, our sales order is still closed because we have the delivery. So if we look at our relationship map, again, you can see we have that. So these are canceled out. And if I look at my delivery now, my delivery now is now open. Again, we set that up, so we reopen the delivery. Because we canceled the AR invoice, we now reopened the delivery. So that's good for a couple of reasons. One is we just canceled the invoice because we just made a mistake. We should have charged a different price, or something was wrong. So by canceling the AR invoice, we reopen up the delivery, because now we can then use this delivery and copy to an AR invoice and make changes to our pricing or add whatever we need to add. Now, if we want to open up the document, let's say we were completely wrong, okay, we made a mistake. This should have never been delivered. It should have never been delivered, never been invoiced. So now what we can do is we can use the standard, take the delivery. Again, we're going to copy this to an a return. And the reason why we're doing this, because remember, a delivery doesn't affect the customer. What the delivery does goes in and affects the inventory and cost of sales from the general ledger sign. It doesn't create any documentation for the business partner. So the customer is never going to see this on any of their statements or their AR agings. So here we just do the same thing. We take a delivery, and we're going to copy this to a return. And again, we're going to return it in full. We're going to add the return. Again, another new thing we have is bin locations. I actually did a webinar, and it's on our site about bin locations. So you're going to get this information here. And now, see, I have this, do you want to reopen items for the original order? Okay, I set that in the setup to be, if I go real quick to administration, and I go into that document settings, I had that thing about the user confirmation. Because I'm asking for user confirmation, it's just going to ask me if I want to open up the documents. Again, that depending on your type of business, you may not want to open up the sales order, or you may want it set to always open the sales orders. I believe best practice is that if you're going to do this is to have it set to always open the document, always open the sales, so do not have that user confirmation. That way nobody makes a mistake, and if it wasn't supposed to be open, it's just a simple matter of going into the sales order and canceling the sales order. So I'm going to say yes here. We're creating the return. We're getting this message here. A new functionality which we have, and I've done a demo on it, is we have the bin locations. So what I'm going to do now, since I'm returning it, technically I'm putting my stock back. So I'm just going to go and use my default. I have a receiving area, so I'm just going to bring this back into the receiving area. I'm going to do the same thing here. This is a nice functionality too. They have nice, you can have bins set up. Again, if you visit our website, we have a recording on this as well. I got to put it in my default bins. So now I can go ahead and add the return. All right. So let's now see. Let's close all this, just to clean up my screen a little bit. So let's go back into the sales order. And you can see now that the sales order is open. Again, if we look at the relationship map, again, nice functionality. If you do make that mistake, that was always a big concern with a lot of clients. A lot of clients would actually create the delivery by mistake. They would copy the whole delivery, and then they can do a return to fix the inventory, but the sales order was always closed. Then you had to do a data duplicate. You had to re-enter the sales order, and you lost that link. So you can see here we have the sales order, which is open, which created the delivery, which created the return, and the delivery created the AR invoice and created the cancellation AR invoice. Okay. So it's nice and neat here in the system. So again, very nice functionality, very good for that, very clean for making mistakes. Again, you don't have to worry about doing the credit. And again, you're never going to see it in the statement. And you have that option because what this is doing is it's creating an AR invoice, but it has a flag as a cancel AR invoice, a cancellation. And you can choose to either show it in the reports or not. Okay. So let's recap what we just went over. Again, a new functionality in SAP version 9.0, the cancellation of the AR invoice. And again, this works from the purchasing side with the AP invoice. There are some new setup functions. So if we go into administration, system initialization, we now have on the document settings, on the general tab, we have this information here. Okay, so display canceled and cancellation marking documents in reports. So in this case, since it's turned on, I would have seen that the invoice number 278 and the cancel 279. If I deselect this, I won't see them anywhere in the reports. Another thing that's important, the max number of days for canceling marketing documents before or after the posting date. Again, this is something you want to do. You don't want somebody accidentally to call up the wrong invoice and actually cancel the wrong invoice. You want to do this. Again, it's a good best practice to allow that for a couple days. You can always, if you have to do it, I mean, again, somebody with authorization can go in here and change this to make a one-time exception. Let's say I have to cancel something that's 20 days old. I can change this to 20, make my cancellation, then come back in and put it back to 5. So that's the new functionality here. The per document was actually in the version 8.8.2, which is the reopening. So here you have the reopening of the document. Again, we have it without user confirmation. All right. So what it's going to do, if I selected this, it won't ask me that question. Typically, we would just do that, and then it'll automatically do it without asking me the question to do it. There's also been a change in the authorizations. So if we go to system initialization, authorizations, you can set this here. So again, let's call up a user that's not a super user. And you can see here that we have here. So again, you can set authorization to do this, as well as the canceling of the other documents and the closing of the documents. So you can set authorization so only certain people can do this. And again, what it does is it creates a nice, clean path and allows me, if I do make a mistake or I invoice something or have an AP invoice in error, it allows me to open up. It allows me to cancel the AR invoice, which is going to open up the base document. In this case, the base document was the delivery. Take a look at that relationship map again. And again, you can see that the sales order is open. So again, under normal circumstances, I would have a sales order. I would create the delivery. So since I deliver in full, my sales order is closed. Then this delivery gets turned into an AR invoice. So that delivery gets closed on the AR invoice. You can see that this little symbol here is that was canceled. Okay. So now, in the other version, 8.8.2, we would have to create that credit memo. We no longer have to do that. We can then take this AR invoice. We can create the cancellation document, which you see here. Okay, so that's going to close it all out, and it's going to reopen the delivery so we can invoice again. If I want to go back to the sales order, again, my delivery is reopened. So what I can do is I can copy that to a return. Okay, that's going to actually close these, and that's going to open up this document here. So again, very nice functionality. It's a really kind of simple thing. It's just a lot in the background. It's kind of easy to show. It doesn't take too long to go through that, but it's a nice functionality to have. A lot of our clients love that. They, even from the 882, where they can open up the sales orders because, again, very clean, very neat. So now what I can do is my sales orders open. So I can start the process. If I had to, I can start all over again. So I can create, redeliver it, and do everything again, and I don't lose the link anywhere in the system. Okay, so that concludes our little webinar today. This is being recorded. It's going to be available on our website. You can visit us at www.michellgroup.com to view this, as well as the others in our series. And we thank you for your time.